Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what time you decided to stop by. Welcome to Confessions. I'm your host, Coach Nikki G. I'm not your ordinary coach. I'm here to help you build your emotional, mental, and spiritual muscles. On my podcast, I like to talk about the things or situations that a lot of people like to sweep under the rug. But you can only sweep so much under the rug before it starts to come out. And that's where I come in. So you can handle the come out by building your muscles. Today's topic is something that is so tragic in most cases. It often happens behind closed doors. We normally don't find out about it until someone is seriously hurt or dead. But it's time to acknowledge and educate those who may be going through this, or you may know someone going through it. It is domestic violence. I was just watching this YouTube, Black Girl Unlost. Each episode tells a story of how the girlfriend or wife or husband or boyfriend wind up murdering their spouse because they cannot take the fact that they may want to break up with them, or they want to control them in some kind of way, and the person is just trying to fight back and it doesn't work. So 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. And you may be that 1 in 3. I was that 1 in 3 at one time in my life. Now, today I brought in my co-host, Calvin. He's here to help us with this subject. How are you today, Calvin?
Oh, I'm blessed. I'm excited about this subject, and I'm just ready to dig into it.
All right. So let's define domestic violence. It's defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. Now, when we say domestic violence, for a lot of us, the first thing comes to mind is physical. But it doesn't always have to be physical. There are other forms. It could be emotional abuse, financial abuse. It could be isolation, stalking, just different types of things that we think is just nothing that is really domestic violence. Now, physical. Now, I'm guilty of this. Calvin, I don't know if you are too. Physical can be something as locking someone out of the house. I got a basket now full of locks. Physical, locking someone out of the house, or withholding food or sleep. Now, if you've never been abused, you probably think, what are they talking about? Sleep. When someone is in a rage, you get no sleep. You're lucky if you get to eat. You get to do nothing but just engage with that person that's in the rage. What do you think about that, Calvin?
Yeah, it's ooh Lord, um, it's intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
When a person is in a rage, it's because of the neglect, like you say, the economic finance. They get enraged when they can't have something, or you withhold something from them. The threats, the controlling part is the main mechanism of the whole violence. It's the control. They have to have control. And so, yes, in my previous marriage, stuff like that happened. The locking the doors, locking people out, withholding, like you say, withholding things, withholding sex, withholding money, not cooking. All this here, like you say, it don't have to be the hitting and slapping and stuff, but it's a whole lot of more that goes on with domestic violence. And everybody think domestic violence is always hitting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily always hitting. It leads up to that, but it start off as, controlling, intimidation, and stuff like that.
Now, on the emotional side of it, not validating your feelings. Your
Mm-hmm.
feelings become non-existent. It's all about that spouse or whatever they
Right.
have going on. Threatening self-harm in order to manipulate the victim. I can recall when I was in a situation and I wanted to leave, that person would tell me, I'm gonna harm myself if you leave me. Please don't leave me. And then if you have a big heart like I did at the time, now I'm a little bit wiser, I'll be like, okay, because you don't want anything to happen to yourself or that person. And they use that to manipulate you.
Yeah.
Constant criticism and name calling. When they tell you you ain't nothing, you know you fat or whatever the case may be. That's all part of abuse. Those are what Calvin would call red flags, right?
Yes, that's a red flag. That's a what they say, instant replay. What? Hold up, do that again. Yeah, that's a red flag for me. Growing up, I seen it constantly in the community. I done seen where men would run their wives down the strip. They might have just a slip on. I seen the abuse. I seen the women intimidate the men. I seen it on both sides of the spectrum. My mother, and I know my siblings might get mad, but anyway, my mother was a victim of domestic abuse from my stepfather. And I lived through it. She lived through it, but it was the idea of the intimidation, like you were saying. You can't do nothing without me. If I don't pay the rent, what you gonna do? So most time, females, they would stay with a person because they need somewhere to stay. They have left their families. Like my mama said, don't burn your bridges. They have said things, done things. When a mother or father tell them don't do it, they do it anyhow, and they wouldn't allow to come back home. So they knew they had nowhere to go, but they would stay in an abusive relationship. They would stay through the manipulation of that, you not being that nobody wants you, you're ugly, you're fat, you're hat nappy, and they would stay in a relationship. And that's something that I grew up in. And also I'm an advocate for women who've been abused or children that have been abused. That's my thing. That's why this was so dear to me when you gave me this. I'm like, okay, God. And I read about it. It just brought back flashback memories. I said, yeah, I can speak on this because if you've never been through it, you can't talk about it.
That's right.
But I can talk about it. And like I say, some of my family members, they might get mad when they hear this podcast, but oh well. Like you say, we have to stop sweeping stuff up under the carpet. Mm-hmm. We have to let it be known that it do happen. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. But it shouldn't happen, but we'll allow it to happen because one time I was abused and one of my aunties said, well, you probably deserved it. And I looked and like, huh? I'm 14 years old. I deserve to get slapped. I deserve to get a knife pulled on me, intimidation. No, I don't deserve that. So I disagree with anybody say, and I heard things like this here, you probably asked for it. Huh? I heard women tell me that, hey, well, I probably deserve it. No, that's intimidation. That's demeaning you, telling you that you caused that problem. I made this happen. No, you didn't. Why? Because you asked for something or you wanted to go visit your mother. So you get beat down because you wanted to go see your mother because he had a bad day. You didn't cause his day to be bad. He caused his day to be bad. But they put that on you to make you feel guilty that now I'm deserving of this whooping. Really?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember this last incident I had, and this person, I fell. We were wrestling in the yard, and I fell. And when I fell, he began to kick me. I would say like somebody would kick an old dog. And I could hear someone in the background saying, stop, stop, stop. And I guess it triggered him to stop. So after the incident, I was like, no, you owe me an apology. He said, no, everybody deserves to get kicked sometime. Yes.
No,
So
no.
what you're saying, I experienced that too. And this whole subject was very triggering for me because I've been in some very, very toxic, abusive relationships. One person almost tried to take me out. He put the gun to my head, and when he put it to my head, God blocked the bullet because I just heard the gun click. So they gave me a chance to get away. But I'm doing this podcast for those that may be in the situation that I was in, or that a man maybe that you may be in that situation yourself. It's time that we speak up, speak out, get educated on it, and know what to do. You know, if you ever find yourself in this situation, and if you are in that situation, please continue to listen to this podcast to the end, because I'm going to educate you on the causes, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then I'm going to explain to you what you can do if you find yourself in that situation, or you know somebody in that situation. You can pass this information on to them. Now, back to what we was talking about. It can be learned in the home, maybe, like Calvin said, he experienced it with his parents. I didn't really experience it with my parents. I experienced it with someone that I was dating. And because I hadn't been exposed to it, I didn't understand it, if it makes any sense. I knew this person shouldn't have been hitting on me, but he was so sorry. He didn't mean it, you know. But until that person started trying to take my life, did it get my attention. Like, I'm ready to get away from you now. I'm tired. And it was no getting away from him at that time. Well, at least that's what I thought. But I was able to, and if you're that person, you will be able to. Now, possible causes. What do you think causes a person to behave in that way in a relationship? Okay, Calvin, you done froze on me. So, possible causes. It could be anger management issues. It could be jealousy, low self-esteem, feeling inferior, cultural beliefs that they have a right to control you, personality disorders, or learned behavior, or possibly just stress itself are possible causes of these types of behaviors. Now let's talk about some causes. What do you think, Calvin, would cause a person to act that way?
Man or woman don't have their way, they tend to take that out on that spouse or that girlfriend or that boyfriend, and they just trying to how can I say it? They are trying to be a person who they not, because they seen this happen. They seen the attitudes, they seen the stigma of just like a young man watch his father beat on the mother, or a daughter watch the controlling of the father. Then when they get into a relationship, they think that's how that's supposed to go down like that, but it's not. It's a pattern that is taught. It is learned that, you know, you supposed to cook, you supposed to wash my clothes, you supposed to shut up when I'm talking. And this is what caused these things to happen. Then when it triggered a person who wasn't raised that way, like you said, you wasn't used to that. So that person, that man, that woman wasn't used to that. And they have a fearful now, like, okay, do this supposed to happen like that? I love her, or I love him, but I don't want this abuse to continue. Then that's when we start saying, I'm not going to do it no more. But it happens over and over again because we believe the lies. We believe that it's not going to happen, but it's going to happen because of the pattern that has been learned. So the triggers are me having a bad day at work. I come home, I take that bad day out on you. Now, if you don't say something about that in the beginning, I'm going to keep doing it. So every time I have a bad day or I get in an argument with somebody, I'm going to take it out on you. Like my daddy say, I'm not your punching bag. So that what happens 9 times out of 10. You know, I was reading up on it, and the anxieties of a woman is 46 to 52% that they have the mental issues when they go through that. They have nervous breakdown. They go into depression because of that, because they don't know how to handle it, and they think it's love.
See,
And it's not love.
when you don't have a
It,
clear understanding of who you are as a person, then you will fall into those type of things that Calvin just said. And that what he just described, learned behavior as a childhood, is one of the possible causes. No anger management issues, jealousy, low self-esteem, feeling inferior, and cultural beliefs. Like Calvin said, some individuals believe that it's a woman's place to cook, clean, and do different things. And if you don't do it, then they feeling like they have to exert that control over you so that you will do it. That's their belief system. That's why it's important that you get to know people, in their belief systems before you marry them or before you decide to be in a committed relationship with them, because you never know. And how does that person handle stress? I think stress is the number one cause. Financial stress, stress maybe at the job. And if that person don't know how to handle stress, they're going to come home and take it out on you. And if you don't open your mouth, as Calvin said, or you haven't found your power yet, you'll put up with it. Now, how would you leave that type of situation? How would you leave that type of situation? What do? You're in that situation. You're being abused. The first step is to create a safety plan. That is,
yeah.
create a safety plan so that you can leave. Now, you're not to tell the person that you're going to leave. This is called a safety plan. And for me, after I went through my situation, I still to this day have a list of phone numbers of people that I can call. Shelters, counselors, people that I've given code words to, because I had to learn the hard way. I remember on TikTok, they had this thing where if you say pizza, somebody would know that you're being abused. That's part of a safety plan. How would you advise someone to leave that type of situation, if they're in it, Calvin?
Just exactly what you just said. You have to put a safety plan together. You have to incorporate, number one, you need to find somebody that you can trust.
Yes.
Somebody who's not going to run their mouth, bump their gums every time, and number one, not too close to him or her, because they'll tell everything what's going on. I went through that. Everywhere I went, before I got married, she knew where I was.
Wow.
Everywhere I went. Yeah.
That was before GPS, huh? That was before the GPS.
Yeah, way before the GPS. But I found out that was my homeboy, because my homeboy was getting at her. So that's why you have to watch who your friends is. You got to watch, because see, that girlfriend, I used to always tell my wife this. I said, don't let that one that's telling you what she wouldn't put up with be the one answering your door.
Woo-hoo-hoo. So true. Yes.
So you have to have a plan together. And backing up what you had said about you have to know your self-worth. You have to know who you are. And honestly, you need to do background checks. You need to go visit mama and daddy, see how daddy treat mama or how mama treat daddy. Then you can find that root cause. You can find out what really goes on, because if you see this type of behavior going on in mama and daddy house, so I guarantee you 100% it's there. It's just a matter of time before it appears. Like you said, stress, not enough money, bills due, the baby crying. That stress, it'll come up. Hitting, slapping, throwing stuff, getting up, breaking stuff. Then you know that after the stuff get broken, who's next? It's gonna be physical abuse.
Yes.
So we have to educate ourselves on these things. It's okay to do a background check. Everybody do background checks now. So why not do a background check on that person that you say you care about and loving, feeling him? So not do a background check. Take me to go meet your mama. Take me, I want to go to Granny. See, when you go to Grandma's house, Grandma going to tell you everything.
That's
Baby,
right.
come here. Let me tell you. Granny going to tell you everything. So we have to educate ourselves, and later on, Nikki, I want to read that scripture that you gave me because I want to educate them on this is the type of man that they supposed to have.
Yeah, that spiritual muscle today. I
Yeah.
got some too. That spiritual muscle today.
Yes.
It's a beast. So get ready for it's a beast.
Yes, it
Last
is.
little part of the educational part of this is once you experience violence, which Calvin already touched on it, you have anxiety. Your mental health is affected. Anxiety, depression. I remember I used to have nightmares. When I did get into a relationship with someone else, I was still having nightmares of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have problems with your emotions, mood swings, anger outbursts. I mean, emotional numbness. You just don't care anymore at some point. Fear and, like I said, nightmares. Now, children growing up in the home, how does it affect them? They are likely to abuse drugs, suffer from the same thing, depression, have difficulties in school, and maybe engage in criminal behavior, because their emotions and things of that nature are out of control. Now, if you find yourself in that situation or you know somebody, I'm going to give you the number to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's 1-800-799-7233. Write that down somewhere. Give it to somebody you know that may need it. Or keep it for yourself because you never know. People can put on a mask real good, but when that mask come off, be prepared. Be prepared. Now, let's get to this spiritual muscle. When I picked that verse, I didn't realize how hard of a muscle that is.
Oh, yeah.
I said, now if I could find a man that do this, woo, but we would be a power couple. So you want to read it to us, Calvin?
I'm gonna read it, then I'm gonna break it down
Break it
because
down.
we have to know as a man and a woman what our responsibility is and what our place is. Okay, I'm gonna read Ephesians chapter 5. I'm gonna go ahead and read 21 through 25. And the reason why I'm gonna do that because I need to explain this thing about a husband and wife. Because I want you to know it said verse 21. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 says, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Now, it says fearing God, submitting yourself one to another. Then it says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband. Your own husband. That's the only way this is going to work.
I'm
to
sorry.
your own husband.
To your side pieces that don't work.
Yeah. Side piece don't work.
To your own husband.
And then it says here, it says, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. And I'm going to explain it to you in a minute. And he is the savior of the body. Okay. Then when we get to verse 24, it says, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husband in everything. Husband, see, this is the kicker here. Love your wife, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Husband, love your wife, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Love your wife. Don't beat your wife. Don't cuss your wife. Don't manipulate your wife. Because, see, when you do that, you are trying to manipulate Christ. See, people don't realize that. This is very serious when he says this, husband and wives. Now, let me break this down for you right now. I want y'all to stay with me now. Wives are to submit to their husbands. The verb submit, absent, is borrowed from a verb, as the law does not mean that a wife is to submit to her husband in the same way she submits to the Lord. See, your wife women are to submit to their husband for as doing things that he asks her to do. Women submit to the Lord as God has commanded her to do. That's why you're supposed to love God more than you love your husband. Your husband is not your God. That's why he said that wives are not to submit to their husband as they submit to the Lord. Because when you start submitting to that man, he become your God. Okay. Now I'm going to explain it to you. Now, it says the reason for the submission is that the husband is the head of the wife. And this is compared to Christ's headship over the church. As Christ is the savior of the church, his body, so a husband should be the protector, not the beater, the protector of his wife, who is one flesh. When you get married, you become one flesh. I don't know, and the Bible said that I do not know a man that hate himself. So if he beating on his wife, he don't love himself. And what Nikki said earlier, what are the triggers? That's the trigger. He don't care about his own self, so that's why he hit on the wife. The wife do not, and I'm going to say this again, you have to be married. That's why it says, it didn't say side piece, it didn't say homie down the street or home girl around the corner. It says, husband, submit to your own husband. In order for this to work, you have to be married. You can't submit yourself to everybody. It's a husband and wife. That's why some sisters be talking about, no, I ain't gonna submit myself to no man. You're not married to him, number one. So you're right, you're not supposed to submit to him. So why are you cooking for him? Why are you washing his clothes? That's submitting. So why are you doing this thing for him and he's not your husband? Okay? That's called how you say it, low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Now, husband is the protector of the wife. He's the head of the wife as Christ is head of the church. Okay? The woman runs the house. My wife runs this house. I don't run this house. But I'm the head of the house. It's a difference. Everything have to go through the head before anything get done. Me and Nikki have to talk. We have to talk about things before we say okay. So when Nikki say, baby, I need this for this. We sit down, we discuss that. That's the one flesh. We discuss it. So I have to make sense. Nikki have to make sense while we're doing what we're doing. It shouldn't be a control factor. It shouldn't be a control issue. It should be an economical decision that we make. That's called budgeting. Most domestic violence come from spending too much money. The bills didn't get paid. The car note didn't get paid. The repo man outside. So we have to be able to come as one at flesh. Me being the head of the house, I have to make it sense to Nikki why we can't spend that right now. If not, we got an argument because she's gonna think that I'm trying to control the money. It's peace in the house because we have come to a compromise. She still run the house. The children don't run the daddy, they run the mama. Mama is the lover of the home. The father is the protector of the home. See? Mm-hmm. So now the husband and the wife have come together to make a decision how the household get ran. I don't run the house. My wife makes decisions for the home. I allow her to. because that's her responsibility, not mine. Mine to go to work, make the money, come home, and let her do what she do in the house. Buy stuff, buy furniture, buy clothes, whatever. That's what that means by submitting. We have to, I don't like to use the word allow, but we have to find our rightful place as men because we cannot run the whole household. We can't do that. I'm sorry. No man has, no man will. That woman is that flesh, one. The woman comes from the man, the real sidekick, not side piece. That's my sidekick because me and her do things together. See, when I go, she go. When she, just like Ludacris say, when I move, you move, just like that. So that's how it's supposed to be. So now, when Nikki gave me this here, I researched it, and I'm like, okay, so what the deal is? The submission should never be to where the husband is inferior. You don't submit in fear. It's love. The word is called agape. Agape love. That's what Christ said. This don't have, agape don't do with sex. See, agape is the love of Christ. The love. He said he loved the church. The husband supposed to love the wife like Christ loved the church. Why do Christ love the church? We do everything and everything wrong, and Christ still loves us and he forgives us. So when that woman do something wrong, you're supposed to love her. You ain't supposed to beat her. You ain't supposed to cuss her out. How many times have we done things and Christ forgives us? He forgives us every time. His son died on the cross for our sins, for the bad behavior that we got. He died for that. So we shouldn't abuse our wife. God hates violence. He detests violence. So when you read that scripture in your own time, read it and let God, allow God to play with.
So everything that Calvin said is so, but as a woman, I would say to other women, if you're going to let a man lead you, you have to be careful what is leading that man. Because then you don't want to submit to somebody that's not submitting to God. If that person is not submitting to God, then I don't know which direction that he's going to lead you. You don't know. And that was the mistake that I made, thinking that this person is leading me, but where is he leading me to? I had to realize, where is this person leading me to? He was leading me to the clubs. He was leading me everywhere but to God. And that was a mistake. But we live and we learn. So just as Calvin said about submitting, you want to submit, but you want to submit to the right person. Making sure that that person is being led by God. That is important. Because you don't know where that person taking you to. He might not even know where he going. Like Calvin said, you don't know. You got to do a background check on a person and see where their head is at. Now, sacrifices. Calvin said Jesus died for us, died for our sins. So what are you willing to sacrifice? When you become one, it's like you're just one person, but everything is a flow. But if you get in the word and you learn your role as a husband and then you learn your role as a wife, things are going to flow. So I found some sacrifices that a man can make for his wife, and it could be vice versa. But that's only when you're in the healthy relationship. Financially, give more to her than yourself. Lead her in making a budget. Calvin just told us. In his household, he makes the money, whatever, but they come together and create a budget as one. Emotions. Listen to her express her feelings, what's heavy on her heart, or whatever she has going on. Validate her emotions. Give her more attention than you give anyone else. How many times have we heard in infidelities that one spouse says that the other spouse is not paying me any attention? So give her more attention than you give anyone else. And that is giving her time for her family and friends, giving her time to still be an individual, but you guys are still one. Next thing, you have to give her her space to rest and rejuvenate. It takes a lot to run a household. But you have to give that person space to regroup. You still want, just because that person may need a moment or two to themselves doesn't mean that they don't love you. They just need that little bit of time to regroup. And also, just as Calvin spoke about, making sure she has what she needs to run her home or to make the house a home. It's her job, it's our job as wives. Well, it's our job as wives to create a space that's beautiful, restful, and hospitable, a home. Time. Give her the opportunity to flourish. Sacrifice some of your time so she can enjoy herself. And, just ask her, what can I do to help you out in the home? If you go out and work every day, that's fine. She's working in the home. It's equivalent. Y'all want. But you both need that opportunity of space. That works both ways. I think anything that I just told you guys can work both ways, male or female. But if you're being led by God in that relationship, these things are important. The sacrifices. Sacrifices. Now, the verse that I read, it said that, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy. To sanctify, to set apart, or to make holy. A godly husband who shows love for his wife helps her grow spiritually. That's important, to grow spiritually together. You have to continue growing. It's a process. You're never too old to grow spiritually. You never know enough. Today's podcast was so important on domestic violence. I've given you ways that if you're in that situation, you can remove yourself safely. If you are that person right now and you need some additional help, I need you to go to internalevolutions.com. You can book a discovery session, or you can call me at 1-888-212-9164, and we can talk, and I can really help you out at this point. With that being said, I want to leave you with peace, love, and light, and we will talk again next week.